You have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. You don't need a TV.
Television addict! Television addict! Television addict!
Hello and welcome. It's Wednesday, which means it's time for a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor. As always, I am Ken Reed, and I am your TV Guidance Counselor. I'm not always Ken Reed, I suppose. Well, I guess I am. Halloween, I might be dressed as someone else, but I'm actually me, or if for some strange reason someone wanted to hire me in an acting role, I suppose I would not be Ken Reed, although this is very philosophical, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole because I have an excellent episode of the show for you today. My guest is Alison Rosen, your new best friend. You may know her from her podcast of that name. She is very funny, very smart, loved talking to her. She is also formerly of the Adam Corolla Show. If you don't listen to her podcast, I highly, highly recommend it. It is very, very good. She may be the only person on earth who is a larger fan of Facts of Life than I am, and we discussed that here in this episode. I want to thank her for trekking over to my LA digs despite being very, very pregnant and chatting about old TV with me. She is, as I said, very smart, very fun. I really enjoyed talking to her, and you will enjoy hearing me talk to her. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, Alison Rosen.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Alison Rosen, hello.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for trekking up to this to the weird Hollywood Hills.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I get lost up here a lot. This is like as far up as I can go without getting completely lost for like an hour and a half.
Yes, I have no sense of direction, and I like to visit people's homes in the hills, but I don't think I could live in the hills because I have this weird, so my husband and I are sort of house hunting, kind of.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to look at anything where if we park the car on the street, the door won't stay open.
Right.
That feeling, because who knows when I'm going to be in roller skates?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fear is, but I have some fear.
Well, it's scary. It's just like, it seems like Chutes and Ladders.
What if I drop a cantaloupe?
Yeah, well, we've all done that. Or,
Exactly.
it's like,
Or
it's
a marble.
Watermelon Festival. I don't want to have to chase this down the hill.
Exactly.
And also, because I'm from New England, even though I know I'm in Southern California, I cannot help but every time I'm like, this is really nice, but this would suck in the winter. Mm-hmm. Every single time I'm like, that's true if they had winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be fine here, especially with the increasing global warming.
Yes. Although it has made the winters worse in New England.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's real. Like maybe a year and a half ago, we were about to come out here we always try to come out in January as like a sanity thing. And we had literally just shoveled for probably 6 hours, and then I went inside and I'm like, all I want to do is take a shower. No water because the pipes are frozen.
Oh, geez.
I was in the basement with a hairdryer, like slowly trying to thaw the pipes, hoping they don't burst. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why would we live here? This makes no sense.
Why do you live there?
I grew up there. We would love to live out here, but at least one of us needs a job first. So I think that's the only thing that would hold us back.
Right.
Because I'm like the white sheep in my family, and so I'm like the only one who has like a house and a job. And
what do the rest of the family do?
they're either deceased or I always joke that their health insurance is scratch tickets. Basically, it's like that kind of like, I need it, so I'm going to win it.
Yeah.
So, it's a very blue collar existence. But so that was like, that's the other weird thing where I'm like, well, do I kind of risk that? But we
risk what? Turning into the rest of your family?
Well, no, risk. I suppose, but like risk not having like any stability or like, do like a big move. But Rachel moved all the way from England and is fine. So.
Oh, I didn't notice her accent.
Yeah, no, she's totally gotten rid of it because it's a real hindrance. People are like, no English here.
Right.
You have a separate fountain for you people, and it just dispenses tea.
Is it super cute where you live?
It is. It's very New Englandy.
Mm-hmm. That's cute.
Have you ever been to that part of the country?
I have. I've not been to Boston.
Okay.
I just came out recently with the fact that I have never been to Boston, but I lived in New York for years and have been sort of up around New England. So and I actually was in Connecticut for Christmas last year, so I know
similar.
New England.
Yeah, it's similar.
Yeah,
and it is nice. And like the first day it snows, like we have that's the other good thing is that, and that's why one of the reasons I like LA so much more than New York is in New York you're in the city and there's no escape. Like, you can't be like, oh, I work in the city, but 10 minutes outside, I have a nice little quiet house with a yard. Like, that's not happening.
Right.
But in Boston, I'm literally 10 minutes from the heart of the city, and it's quiet, and you would never know that we were that close. We have like an 1850s little house. And,
Oh, that sounds cute.
Yeah, it's nice. And the first time it snows, you're kind of like, oh, but then like 2 weeks later, when the snow is now filled with like broken dolls and it's gray and girl, you're like, no, this is not exactly.
Who's breaking their dolls and putting them in the snow anyway?
There's the weirdest. When the snow finally melts, the weirdest stuff is in the banks. And one of my dogs, for whatever reason, loves to dig stuff out of the snowbanks, and then he'll come up and give them to me. The two weirdest things he gave me that were not food. Actually, the three weirdest things, one was food, was just a hard-boiled egg. He like handed me
shell?
No, it wasn't even in the shell.
Okay.
He just handed me a hard-boiled. I was like, why is there an uneaten hard-boiled egg just in a snowbank? One was a handheld Sega video game, and one was a commemorative coin from Space Jam.
Wow.
It had Bugs Bunny on one side, metal coin. It had Michael Jordan on the other side, and the dog came up and handed it to me, and dropped it out of his mouth like he was so proud. I was like, what? Why wasn't this on the street? Did it come from the sky? Like, was it part of the snow?
Right.
So that's always a little weird. Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the egg. Someone
The
must have
egg
peeled
is
it and
weird.
then dropped it.
It must have been in the garbage, yeah. Or like a raccoon stole it and had
Right.
a change of heart, something like that. Maybe. Yeah. They but the broken dolls is frequent, or like weird, like just clothing. I don't understand
Like
that
one shoe.
Yeah, just like a sock. That's
Yeah.
always I always blame raccoons. They're like they're the cleaning crew of the outside world that everyone blames when things go
Right.
missing.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But it's I like it here when it's actually I just like the weather all the time, because people are like, oh, there's no seasons, but at night it's like fall. It's nice and cool and crisp, and there's no humidity.
It can be really hot out here.
Yeah, the valley gets really hot.
Yeah.
We've been walking around Burbank before, and I've been like, I'm gonna just lay down and die.
Yeah.
I don't think I can make it.
That's the appropriate reaction to that
yes,
to that
yes.
weather.
Just stand in. But I've also been in the snow when I've had to like walk. Like my car has been stuck, and I'm like, I gotta walk home, and it's like a 2-mile walk, and like a mile in, you're just like, I'm just gonna lay down and die. I don't think I can make it.
I was in New York for 9 years, and and there were some bad winters, but I never minded them that much. But I also didn't have a car there, and I think if I had, that would have changed everything.
Were you in New York City proper?
Yeah, I was in Manhattan and then Brooklyn.
So that's always easier because
That's true.
they clear the streets pretty well. The public transit is pretty much up and running.
Right.
But if you're just outside and like you have to shovel, I remember one day it was like the first year we were in our house, and we had a huge snowstorm, and we literally were shoveling for like a work day to get enough space to get the car out of the driveway, and we just couldn't do any more, and it wasn't quite shoveled out yet, and a neighbor came up with a not even a snowplow, it was like a bulldozer, and just goes, hey, get out of the way, and just moved all the snow.
Oh, that's
and
so nice.
We were like crying. We were like, oh, this is the most wonderful thing that's ever happened.
I worked at this magazine, Time Out New York, which was far, far on the west side, like on 10th Avenue, between 9th and 10th, I think. Or between 10th and 11th. Is there an 11th? I don't know.
Think so. I had Joke of the Week once in Time Out New York.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I bet Jane Borden selected
It was Jane Borden, yes, yeah,
She's
yeah.
out here now.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Pasadena. Anyway, I was walking to work one day, and I got caught in I don't know how I got caught in a snowbank, but I was like kind of beached in this snowbank,
Yeah.
and this stranger came up and gave me his hand, and I had the same reaction
Yeah.
as you with the neighbor and the bulldozer.
You were
like,
just gonna
the
leave me?
kindness of humans.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Maybe that's what we're missing out here. Although everyone's very nice out here. And
Yeah.
like in a good mood. It's weird.
Right.
That was my first thought. I joke with this all the time. When we came out here being like angry Northeastern people, and everyone was so nice, I was just like, they have no defenses. You could just conquer them, the whole place. They don't have to do anything.
We're soft.
Yeah. Because you grew up in Orange County?
Orange County, yeah.
How far is that from LA? It's not that far from LA, right?
It's like growing up, my mom would always say it's an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay.
And if you're in the middle of the night, it is an hour and 10.
Okay.
Nowadays, it takes much longer than that. Nowadays,
Right.
it takes like an hour 40.
So it's a day trip now.
Yes.
Sort of, yeah.
But it really should be about an hour, a little over an hour.
Did you come into LA a lot as a kid, or were you aware of like all the? Because obviously you're a child of television.
Yes.
And were you aware that stuff was being produced here, or did it? Still
I was. Yeah, we would go to Universal Studios.
Okay.
And we would come up and go to musicals and things like that. We went to the Pantages. Not a ton, but to some degree. So I knew that all of that took place up in LA. Yes.
Did you ever go to like a taping of a TV show?
I did. So I wanted to be a child actress.
Okay.
And when my parents were, they had this whole thing that it's funny, I don't talk about this often.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, it's fine. They felt like child actors and child actresses don't have normal childhoods, and it like messes you up. And so they were kind of against it. The funny thing is they were against it, but it wasn't like if they were for it, I would have had some crazy career. I was a very awkward kid who was just obsessed with Hollywood.
Yeah.
But they
Same
said
here,
that
but you had at least some access to it.
I did.
Yeah.
So they said that if I like arranged everything, they would drive me, but they weren't going to help me in any way other than just sort of driving
as a chauffeur.
me.
You gotta earn it. You gotta be your own manager.
Right. So I don't know how I did it, but I found a manager and I went up and I met with her. And so there was a period of time where I was going on auditions and I was an extra in some stuff. So that was very heady for me as like a 13, 14-year-old.
I'm on the other side, man.
Yeah, exactly. To be able to miss high school because I had school on the set. And even though I was just an extra, it wasn't. And I think at one point I was a featured extra.
Oh, nice. Did you have a line or? Just,
no, I didn't have a line. But I got paid a little more.
Okay.
It was on Life. Remember that show, Life Goes On?
Yeah.
It was. We were all at a pool. I don't know if it was I can't remember the plot, if it was a swim team or whatever, but like there were, I don't know how many of us there were, but a few of us were featured a little more and we had to dive into the pool.
Right.
So,
it was Kelly, what's her name?
Martin.
Kelly Martin and Chris was the lead.
I did a couple episodes of that show.
He put out an album.
He did?
Oh, yeah.
Chris Young. No, Chris
No,
Young.
no, Chris...
Chris Young is someone else.
Chris Young is from The Great Outdoors and
My sister loved
PCU.
that Chris Young.
Everybody loved that Chris Young. I went to school with Chris Young. Nobody loved him. He was a real dick. He was one of those kids whose name is Christopher and he goes by Toph.
I knew one like that.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
It's very strange.
It is.
Like, you would never go by son.
No, I feel like it's do we swear on this?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a fuck you to everyone. It's like, don't call me, hey, fuck you, I'm not Chris.
Yeah.
I'm Toph.
Yeah, that's like someone who's been through a traumatic incident and their father's name is also Chris and their father like tried to kill them. So they're like, no, Chris is no more.
Yeah, Chris is dead.
I am Toph from now on.
Doesn't live
No,
here.
this kid was just like the kind of dink that wears golf shorts all year round, even in the winter, and like thinks he's like the funniest person he knows.
I hate this guy. What's he doing now?
He owns a landscape business.
Of course he does.
That he inherited from his father.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So there was Kelly Martin, and then there was her friend in the school who had really curly, long, dark hair.
Yeah.
Like tons of curly, long, dark hair.
I can't remember her name either. And Chad Lowe was on that show as he was her boyfriend who had AIDS, right?
I loved Chad Lowe.
Yeah, everybody did.
I loved Chad Lowe. He was also in one of my favorite after-school specials, No Means No.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Where his sister was date raped.
Yes. Which was in a lot of shows. Mr. Belvedere had 2 different date rape episodes.
Really?
One of which Kevin was the perpetrator of the date rape.
Really?
Yeah.
How did I meet Kevin Marilyn Manson?
Yes. He became
funny
Paul
people think
Pfeiffer
that.
and then became Marilyn Manson. Okay. Actually, Kevin used to be roommates when he was filming Mr. Belvedere. His roommate was Doug Benson.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Doug's been to like almost all the Belvedere tapings during that time. Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
How well, I was going to say, how have I never discussed this with Doug? But because why would it come up?
It doesn't really come up, that's why. But it came up once, I'm like, are you kidding me? There's
crazy.
an episode where Heather's date tries to date rape her.
Okay.
And she comes in with like her dress all ripped, and then Bob Uecker goes and beats the guy up. And then, which is the only reason you have Bob Uecker around.
Right.
And then the other one, Kevin comes home and he's drunk. And he has like a heart-to-heart with Belvedere about it. And I just remember this scene where Mr. Belvedere is literally like, Kevin, no means no. And he's like, come on, she wanted it, Belvedere.
Oh, jeez.
It's really, oh, my God.
I feel like shows nowadays won't... Let me rephrase. Shows back then took bigger risks than they do now. Do you agree?
Yes, but I think part of that was because of broadcasting versus like narrowcasting. So I think they took bigger risks because they were for a larger audience. So there was like more of a shock when they would do that stuff.
When they would have a very special episode?
Yeah, and they're hard to... Some of them are very good still. Like the Designing Women AIDS episode totally holds up. Some of them, it's clear their hearts were in the right place, but first and foremost, they were sitcom writers.
Right.
So they'll put jokes in that are funny, but like it's just... not that you can't make jokes around some things because that's kind of why we have it, but they're just where they are in it are inappropriate.
Right. Like it affects the tone in a weird way.
It's very schizophrenic. Like I remember there's a Punky Brewster episode with the meanest thing I've ever heard on TV in my life. Not a shock said by Alan, maybe one of the biggest jerks on television. And it's do you remember the episode with the savant who's the janitor?
No.
So she's
which one was Alan?
Alan was a little blonde kid that was also on Belvedere. He was the one who's always causing problems. He's the one who gets kicked out of the CPR class when Cherry gets locked in the refrigerator.
I remember I remember the refrigerator one. I remember the mean girls who wanted to make Punky drink some gross drink with mayonnaise.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to talk about the chiclets. They were the ones that tried to make her do drugs.
Oh, no. Oh, maybe the initiation was some gross drink with mayonnaise, and then that led into drugs, because I believe one of the child actresses was named Moya Cordick, and she went to my school.
Oh, wow. And was she like, I was on Punky Brewster?
No, she was older than I was, so I didn't have anything to do with her.
Right.
But I would look at my yearbook and like, wow, look at her.
Someday I could be this.
Yes, I want to be. And Amy Foster, who played Margot, had also gone to my school, but no longer went there. So I never overlapped with her.
But there was a real Punky Brewster connection to this school.
There really was. So I knew of Punky. Was it Cherry?
Cherry, yep.
Cherry.
Played by Cherry Johnson.
That's just not that creative.
No.
And Margot, but I did not really know these other characters.
So yeah, Alan was the boy. He always wore, this was like his uniform. They had him in the show. It was a sleeveless gray sweatshirt with his own wristbands made from the original sweatshirt. Don't know why.
That's cool, because it's cool.
It was pretty cool.
That's kind of a punky thing.
It was kind of punky. He looked more like he was just like like he ran an aerobics class. But he, like an 8-year-old blonde kid runs an aerobics class.
Okay.
But he, in the refrigerator episode, he keeps making jokes when they're trying to learn CPR. And TK Carter's like, first, ask her if she's okay. He's like, Annie, are you okay? And Ellen goes, why don't you kiss me and find out? And then he's like, get out of here. So there's that. But in the Savant episode, they're learning about classical music and they're listening to violin music. And when they turn around, the woman who's the janitor has like a spray bottle and she's like miming, because she's a musician, a musical savant. And Alan goes, hey, what are you going to do next? Play a mop solo? And then she gets upset, but that is kind of funny. And then they go, Alan, you're hurting her feelings. And he goes, she doesn't have feelings. She's a retard.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, oh, man. And then he has to write a thing about the Special Olympics. But like they had a Space Shuttle Challenger episode of Punky, an episode about the Night Stalker. The Night Stalker.
The Night Stalker loomed large in my childhood.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Because he was he in Orange County?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he got caught in Orange County.
Okay. So my best friend growing up lived in, I don't think she lived in a yellow house by the freeway because that's what he was targeting, but next door to a yellow house by the freeway. And I know that my parents were worried about my spending the night at her house when that was happening.
Not about her, just about you being
well, that's what I was going to say. How do you communicate that? We're worried that where you live is going to be targeted. Yeah. So we don't want our daughter there. Good luck. Bye.
We can't help you. You're already screwed.
Well, I think that they weren't afraid.
Right.
I don't know. I totally pulled that out of my ass. I pulled that out of my ass to make my parents look less callous.
Well, no,
I don't
that's
know.
fine.
I like to think that if they had been worried, my parents would have opened their doors to them.
Right, and let them stay there.
Yes,
I'm sure
exactly.
They would have. Yeah.
Sure they would have.
Absolutely. I don't know them, but they would have. But your parents, totally.
Totally. Our house is your house.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was so freaked out that I slept, and my sister and I slept in my parents' room for a couple nights.
Until they caught him, basically?
It wasn't until they caught him. It was until my parents were like, you need to go back to your room.
Right. Parental annoyance.
My dream would have been until they caught him. But I think they did catch him fairly fast. I just remember that summer, I think I was going to tennis camp in the mornings, tennis day camp. And everyone was very afraid.
Oh yeah,
and then I remember it was big news when he was caught.
Yeah, I mean even in Boston that was like daily news, and that happens all the time there. It actually doesn't. But Punky was in Chicago and she was terrified that the Night Stalker was going to come kill her in her sleep. I'm like, this seems not appropriate for a kid's show.
Right.
But I appreciate that they're like, this will help kids. We're gonna get, but hey, and Yeah.
It doesn't hold up. It
No,
sounds like
not at all. Not at all. So when you were kind of flipping through, you said late 80s, early 90s, because there's some very specific shows, and every single one of them was 87.
Yes,
And
that's so weird.
Yeah.
What was going on for me in 87?
That was a big year. We had Baby Jessica, which I'll talk about in a moment because it's related to one of these shows
It
specifically.
is.
Yep.
Okay. Baby Jessica fell down the well.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Wasn't there also a Baby Faye?
Yes, but it was no one cared about her nationally.
You have kind of an encyclopedic brain,
it's
don't
bad,
you? You're
yeah.
like a real Marilu Henner.
Not as good. I also am not as obsessed with eating peanuts with all my meals.
She does that?
That's her secret, she said, to longevity and keeping her weight down.
Really?
Yeah, I was getting...
Is it someone who's that smart? Because her thing is like she can remember the date of everything,
she has
right?
hypermnesia. It's the opposite of amnesia, so she literally remembers every single thing that's ever happened. So
I'd expect more sage wisdom from someone
Yeah.
with that than eat peanuts with every meal.
yeah, I remember I heard she had a talk show for a while, and I was getting a haircut, and for some reason the barbershop they had it on, and that was her big thing. She's like, so say you want to eat, potatoes, they're starchy, you'll get fat. Not if you have 2 peanuts after. It was
come
like really
on,
weird.
Mary Lou.
Yeah.
That's just
It was
bullshit.
very weird. It was very weird. But yeah, so I don't have hypermnesia, thank God, because I feel like that would be horrific.
I think it would be.
Yeah.
What I wonder is if you have that, could you ever tell a short story that synthesizes a lot of information, or would your stories be like, and
Too
then
detailed?
he said this, and yeah.
I think so, but I also think what you miss out on is, everyone has various degrees of trauma, even if they're not that traumatic, but you do need that sort of fading of time
Distance, yeah.
to sort of just remember the feeling and not the exact details.
Right.
And I feel like if you remember the exact details of everything, you would just go insane.
I think so too.
Like nothing would ever, even if it was like your grandma died or something, that like you would never get over anything.
Right, because nothing could recede.
Yeah.
I wonder if she can remember all her dreams too.
That I don't know. That's an interesting question. I wonder if anyone's asked her that. Or maybe she doesn't even have dreams. 'Cause
Right.
part of your dreams is to like file away the stuff that's happened
Yeah.
during the day. And her brain's like, no, we don't need to do that.
Right.
So she just sleeps completely nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just shuts off. She actually sleeps standing up in a closet.
Exactly.
Like,
She
small
just
wonder.
dreams of peanuts.
Yes,
Just
yes.
Peanuts. Count
Here's how
peanuts.
you remember everything. 2 peanuts.
That's so
after
cool.
every thought you
I
have.
can't.
Yeah,
I
very
can't
weird.
even.
Yeah, so I don't remember everything, but for whatever weird reason, it's although the late '90s is a little hot, a little hazy.
What were you doing?
I was in a band, and we were a punk rock band, and I was like just angry and 18, and
Okay.
yeah, and depressed, and I probably remember stuff the way most people do, everything, but for some reason, for me, I'm like, oh, it's just a real haze.
Yeah, I think of myself as someone with a pretty good memory. Although, as we record this, I'm pregnant, and that the pregnancy is like challenging my memory.
Yeah.
I'm more forgetful and kind of spacey being pregnant. But I think of myself as someone with a good memory. However, recently, people have been bringing stuff up to me that I didn't remember,
Right.
which is very, very unsettling to me.
Yeah.
And a while ago, I realized there's some chunks of college that I don't have the best memory of. But that, I think, is because I was smoking a fair amount of pot at the
Yeah, see
time.
me, I've never done a drug. I've never had alcohol either.
Look
so,
at
like,
you!
I'm almost
That's so Bostonian.
it's the opposite of. It's weird because it's probably like a spite Bostonian thing. Like, fuck you.
Right. Was your band straight edge?
No, I mean we were just nerds. It was weird. We would tour with like the Mighty Bosstones, and like we started with the Dropkick Murphys, and but we were just like. I don't know. I was always the responsible one, and I like booked everything and drove, and so I was like, we have to do all these things, and then once you turn 21, it's like there's no real point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did not fit in. It was very, very strange. It was like skinhead bands, and then we'd be there.
Did it frustrate you to be the responsible one?
No, because I liked to be aware at all times, for better or worse. And I was always kind of the responsible one, so it was sort of a comfortable role, but it also gave me
Right.
something to focus on. So like, I used to have panic attacks and all kinds of stuff, but if I was driving, I didn't, because I was
see.
I have to drive.
Yeah.
So you needed like a task to do.
Right.
So it was helpful. But yeah, so I have like some things I remember from them, but probably just a totally normal memory thing. But it kind of bled a little together. Probably because we were busier too, I think, because we played like 2 or 3 shows a week for like years. And when
What'd you play in the band?
I sang. Well, I screamed because no one else would do it. But like when you're a kid and you're watching TV, it's a big deal. Like every
Right.
minute seems like an hour. So I wonder if it's some of that as well. Or
Did
who
you
knows.
tour out west?
We never toured out west. The furthest we got was, I think, like Louisiana or something like that. But we do like the Maine to Florida corridor, and it's really weird because like you know, been Dashboard Confessional.
Mm-hmm.
When that guy was in that band Further Seem Forever, they like opened for us. We played with like AFI.
Oh, wow.
And then we're just nothing. But it was a very weird time.
Did you put out albums though?
We did. We put out one album and a bunch of singles, and then we recorded a second album that just never came out.
I was in a band too, and that's what happened with us. We put out one, and then we recorded a second, and then I moved to New York, and nothing ever happened with it.
Yeah, although at least it was because you moved and not because everyone was like, I think we hate each other.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that.
Yeah, it was that with this one. We recorded in the basement in a mansion in Gloucester, Mass. In the basement, this guy used to be in Billy Joel's band, and he had a home studio that he let like this punk rock guy rent out. And we were there in the summer, no air conditioning for like 3 weeks, and then we're just like, no. We all hate each other now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm still friends with those guys now, but it took a little time. Just because I think, you know, you're 18-year-old kids and just like, it's not
I look
fun.
back on some of the disagreements and the conflict in my band.
What did you play?
I played guitar.
Okay.
There's two of us played guitar, and
Okay.
and I sing backups.
Okay.
And I did a lot of the songwriting, but I look back on some of that and I think like, what the hell was that even about?
Oh, yeah, well-
and also, I feel bad. In general, I don't have a lot of, like, I think I'm a pretty decent person. I don't have a lot of regrets, but there's some of the positions I took in that band or some of the things I'm like, I don't feel like that was really defensible.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
kind of a dick.
Yeah, but I think everyone kind of is when they're that age, you know?
Yeah.
Because you're kind of figuring out where the line is.
Right.
Just seeing what you can get away with, but you're not conscious, you know, that's what I tell myself.
I'll tell myself that too.
Yeah, I think that'll
Yeah.
work. So yeah, I wasn't watching much stuff, and you know, it was kind of like the first like adult kind of stuff. And plus, it's that time when everyone moves away to college, and like people have different. And I was like, I came from a suburb that was now is very affluent, but was kind of a mixture of blue collar and affluence then. And not that the kids that I was in the band with were super affluent, but they were definitely better off than I was and smarter than they. So they went to like really good schools and had like a family support system, and I didn't. So I think that was also kind of like I was kind of, in hindsight, was probably kind of resentful of it.
Were your parents divorced?
They divorced when I was like 24, but essentially, like I don't even know why they ever got married. So it was just like a very weird, which is why I watch so much TV. I was like, I'm just gonna go. You guys do your thing and go do that.
Right.
But you know, that's why I remember Baby Jessica, who I still have a grudge against to this day.
Okay.
Because Rags to Riches was one of the shows that
I mentioned.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Did you love that show, or was it just like?
For some reason, I just turned my head. I hope that the
quite all
audio
right, yeah.
didn't get weird for
A
a
cute
second.
dog walked by.
Yeah, exactly. But a cute dog wearing a bell.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a real
Attention
show
on it,
off. Show offy. Look at me.
Hey, over
I'm
here.
cute. I'm walking down the
Maybe
street.
He might have committed a crime, and that's like the equivalent of like you have to wear a bell so people know. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm surprised he wasn't wearing a sandwich board. Yeah, for some reason, I definitely wanted to choose a year where Rags to Riches was on. I don't have a great memory of the show, but I think I was into the idea of teenage girls singing. This is what I think. I think there was a big press push for that show.
Yes.
And I got caught up in the Rags to Riches whirlwind.
Yeah.
And then, wasn't it only on for one season?
Less than a season.
Yes. It was like a giant flop, but I was,
Yeah.
young Alison Rosen was on board.
Is that where you went and you were in a band?
Yes, exactly.
But it kind of distilled everything that was super popular at that time. So it was a musical set in the 60s about orphans. And
now I'm remembering why I loved it.
yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah, it was like, hey, these kids love Annie.
Right.
They love Dirty Dancing. We'll just do this in one thing. And orphans are on every network right now.
Yeah.
But it was really weird. And it was Joseph Bologna, and he's a rich guy who just goes into an orphanage and adopts everyone.
As one does.
I don't think you can do that. And
No.
especially some rich guy's like, I'll take all these girls. Send them up to my house.
Right. I don't
Yeah.
think they'd allow that now.
I hope not. But then as the show went on, they kind of forgot it was set in the 60s, and then it was basically set in the 80s.
I didn't know it was set. I didn't know it was set in the 60s.
They really dropped that, which was weird. But the 2-hour series premiere got interrupted by Baby Jessica
That
falling
bitch.
down the well, and they never re-aired it, and so I never caught the end of it, and it drove me crazy because there was no place you could watch it.
Right.
I was so mad. I must have been 8, 9 years old. And I was like,
Yeah.
damn it. So mad.
I'm remembering how much it sucked
Yeah.
when your show was preempted.
Oh yeah. It
That-
was bad enough the worst was when you tune in and it was like a presidential address.
Yes.
But everybody at least knew about that.
Right.
My parents would not warn me, though, because they knew I'd freak out in advance. But, an unexpected was the worst.
Right.
Because you don't know how long it's going to last. And kid doesn't care about news.
No, because now if something like that happened, I'd be like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, then it was just like a bunch of adult bullshit.
Yeah, I'm like, who cares about the Gulf War? The Flash is on.
Did the show have a relationship to the show Hull High? Or was
No.
it just... Because I maybe every article about it would mention Hull High.
Yes. So Hull High was in 89. So Hull High was actually a pretty decent show, and right out of the gate they were like, "What a dumb idea! Didn't they learn their lesson with Rags to Riches?"
Oh, I see.
Basically the take,
Right.
Because then Cop Rock was the same year.
Okay, and Cop Rock is thought of as a flop.
Yes, but it's actually kind of fun. It's funny when I've rewatched Hull High, which I liked, and I've rewatched, and I'm not a big musicals person, and I rewatched Cop Rock, and when I look at something like High School Musical or Glee, I actually think they're kind of better in a lot of ways, but I think that you just couldn't do that on TV and have it work until 2004 or whatever it was.
Funny thing, now that I'm thinking about it, the fact that I was so into Rags to Riches, I don't care about... I've never seen High School Musical, and I was not really into Glee.
No, me
I
either.
guess I grew out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tween thing.
Yeah.
I think that might be it. In that before they figured out that tweens were a thing that they could market to, which is perfect for that kind of thing. None of that stuff worked.
Right.
So it was like either kids who were too young who don't buy anything, or adults who are not interested.
Right.
So all those shows bombed. Yeah, that was an odd time with the musicals on TV where they're like, yeah, everything has musicals.
Right.
Very strange.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, they would do one musical episode of every show.
Right.
Which I think probably just greased the thing for everybody a little bit for like a full-fledged musical show.
Whenever there's the musical thing, I always just assume it's because like Peter Gallagher is in the cast and they know that he actually sings or something like that.
Yeah.
That I feel like someone in their contract is like, I get to sing at some point.
Like, or they're like, all right, we had a great episode. We've cast as the villain Neil Patrick Harris, and there's one guy's like, oh shit. I guess my episode's musical now. Oh, no, I didn't write it to not be a musical. That's fine.
Right.
Yeah. They're like, we have to.
A Hull High or Cop Rock question.
Yes.
I'm having a memory of an episode where they're in a mall.
Yep.
And there's like different stores in a mall.
Yes, that's
Was
a
that
Hull
Hull
High.
High?
That's a Hull High. Yeah.
But what was that?
There was an episode. One of the characters worked in the mall,
Okay.
and then they would go through the different kids all working in different stores. There's
Gotcha,
there's like a scene where they all have like a little like a verse. It was only 4 or 5 episodes, that show.
Okay.
And it was expensive, and so they were like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
And Kenny Ortega, who did Glee, worked on that show as well.
Okay.
So
There
I
you
think he
go.
was just like, I'm just gonna keep pushing it till somebody's like,
Right.
this is fine. Yeah.
I appreciate his determination.
Yeah, he made it happen, and he changed the world.
Right.
Also, Saturday night, you were like, Facts of Life is your number one.
That was my favorite show always growing
Okay.
up. I can't remember a time before I watched it. I think there was something that really appealed to me about the idea of a bunch of young people who became family, who was like a makeshift family, and
Right.
the parents weren't around.
Right.
Because I had forgotten what Rags to Riches was about, but the fact that it's a bunch of orphans, I think,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of wish fulfillment for kids, though.
It absolutely
I think
was.
that's why
Yeah.
kids like that stuff so much, because you have that idea of like, what if I were a miniature adult?
Yeah, or there's like these aren't my real. There was
Right.
2 sort of tracks of it. There was the Orphans show, which there was a ton of then.
Party of Five.
Party of Five, Webster, Different Strokes, Punky Brewster. There was a ton. Then also the Weird Manny's shows.
Right.
There was like 7 of those.
Mr. Belvedere, Charles in
in charge. Who's the boss? It was very odd. But then you had the sort of the I'm a secret like Wizard of Oz type shows. Did you ever see the cartoon Wildfire?
No.
It was about this girl who was like a ranch hand orphan who they picked on, but then she was actually a princess in another galaxy and would go through there to like save the world. And that was like 3 or 4 different shows too, like Out of This World. Like
I loved Out of This World.
Girls with Secret Powers, because their real parents or whatever was also a weird
Right.
trend for whatever reason.
What was the show, and the only relation that this show has to any of that is that it popped into my head. I don't think it has anything. I don't think thematically.
Fair enough. Good relation.
Courtney Thorne Smith,
Yep.
and there was a boy who always wore a bathrobe.
It's called Going Places.
Yes. What
Yes.
was that?
That was they tried to make that a TGIF show and like fit that 9:30 slot, and it had Alan Ruck in it, and Heather Locklear came in the second
Yes.
season. It was a workplace sitcom, and it was almost like a proto Friends, but like 4 years too early.
Oh wait, maybe this is not
you're
the show I'm
thinking of
thinking
Day
of.
by Day.
Yes.
Day
yes,
by Day
yes,
was a
yes.
spin-off of Family Ties.
Okay.
It was about a home daycare. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was on it. And it was
Am I thinking of Day by Day? Courtney Thorne-Smith played who did she play?
she's like a teenager. I think she's either the daughter of the main characters or like she worked
Okay.
in the daycare.
I feel like I feel like the boy's name was Mark.
Yes, he played Greg Brady in the Brady Bunch movie.
Okay.
And the reason he got cast in that was that show Day by Day did an episode where he got hit in the head and
Yes.
imagined everything as the Brady Bunch.
Yes,
and
yes,
played
yes, I
Greg.
remember
So they were
that.
like, this
Okay.
guy's just like Greg. Yeah, they
How
backed
uncreative.
totally. But there was.
I mean, creative, but the fact that they're like, let's find someone who's already played Greg.
Yeah. Do you have anyone who's done this already?
know.
Yeah, there was a weird other phenomenon of 80s shows doing tributes to like 60s shows.
Yes.
Like there was a Gilligan's Island Alf. There was a Gilligan's Island Roseanne. And it would always be someone like gets hit in the head and wakes up in the sitcom.
Right.
It's very weird.
There was of the weirdest Facts of Life. There's a few Facts of Life episodes that were so weird.
I probably know all the ones you're going to say.
Okay, that I'm like, did I imagine that? Did that really happen? Do you know the Twilight Zone ripoff
Seven Little
one?
Indians.
Yes.
Yes.
That is
Yep.
a weird episode.
It's great with Maurice LaMarche as Rod Serling.
Yeah.
I like saying Tootie.
Tootie.
Yeah. That episode blew my mind as a kid. 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't
What
know what's
is
happening,
this?
but I want more of this.
Yeah.
And they did a ton of those in the later seasons.
I wish I'd asked. So I had Mindy Cohen on my
Yes, very
podcast
jealous.
recently. It was the career highlight, and I wish I'd asked her about that.
Yeah.
because that was such a weird episode.
Yeah, they were. It was. My theory is, and this is probably pretty. Someone smarter than me's probably documented this, but shows that go past 5 seasons get weird.
I think so.
Because they've done everything. So, like any more than 5 season show, if you watch the 6, 7, 8, they're really bizarre.
Right.
And it's especially in the 80s, and Facts of Life was no exception. And those Beverly Ann years, they had that
Yeah.
one where they were in the future, and Andy was like a tycoon, and they were building and then there's the,
and like they kept saying to Blair, "It's too late."
yeah, it was very weird. And then there's the
Yeah.
one where Beverly Ann does the It's a Wonderful Life Christmas episode. Then they have that really dramatic one, though, where Blair gets in the car wreck.
That was an awful one.
Yeah,
yeah, and
that was
Paul
heavy.
Provenza played her boyfriend Casey.
I said I hadn't had anyone on the show who was on Facts of Life, but
You
I was
had
wrong.
him?
Paul Provenza was on.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and
That
and
was
then-
that's one that like I wouldn't want to rewatch, even though it's probably
grim.
handleable. But
I'm sure you can handle it, but it stands out as being very
Right.
grim. And then they have the Backdoor Pilot spin-offs that they tried
right.
endlessly the whole last half of that season.
Yes.
I would have watched any of those. The
I
Eastern
know,
School one.
especially that one.
Yeah.
Seth Green was
Yep.
in that. Mayim
Julia,
Bialik.
I'm not sorry. What's her name? She has the band now and the Licks.
Juliette Lewis.
Yeah. And then the one where Natalie lives with David Spade and Richard
Oh,
Grieco.
that would have been so good.
Yeah, I totally would have watched that
Yeah.
anytime. That was when you moved to New York. Did you think that's what New York would be like?
No, I don't think so. I think my New York. I'm trying to think what formed my New York feelings. I was about to say Friends, but I don't think that really did either. I don't know what made. I'm trying to think what show made me go.
Night
Oh, this
Court
is
was
New
a
York.
big New York to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just like this in Barney Miller. The Warriors. That was big.
I think I didn't. I was more focused on characters and stories than
Okay.
locations, so I
Right,
don't think
right.
I really tied it together that that's what
That's
it
where
is.
they were.
Yeah.
I guess like you had mentioned Double Trouble, which the second season is the only one worth watching. But that's when they're in New York, and it seems so cool. It's like glass bricks and neon. That was
Yeah.
kind of also that attempted spin-off with Natalie was sort of the same thing.
Right.
Like they get a spiral staircase
Yeah.
in their apartment. It's great. And it's not like
David Spade, the doctor who was going to give free breast exams.
Yes, horny Dr. David Spade, which I think he's made 4 movies about now.
Right.
That very character. And Richard Grieco, who was underutilized in comedies.
Yes.
Always good and stuff. I think If Looks Could Kill, underrated film.
I don't think I saw that.
Oh man, you got to see If Looks Could
Okay.
Kill. If you're a Richard Grieco fan, which I know you are.
I am. Who's not?
It's a comedy spy movie where it's like James Bond with him as like a mistaken as a super spy, and he's a high school student.
So he was a guest. I'm not sure this. I hope this story is as good as my memory of it. He was a guest on the Adam Corolla Show, and I used to work on the Adam Corolla Show. And in the course of him talking, all of a sudden I remembered, oh my God, you were in that Facts of Life episode.
Right.
So I was talking to him about it, and then I got a little self-conscious because I was like, almost like I felt like I was, yes, but to the point of what is wrong with her, she won't stop talking about Facts of Life.
She's in a frenzy.
Yeah. And like, does she have any, like, she's on the spectrum, and Facts of Life is her thing.
Right.
Is where she feels comfortable.
Yeah.
And then Adam's like, let's start the news. And then my theme song comes on, which was a parody of the theme song of Facts of Life. So I felt like, oh boy.
You'll feel better about this. When we did our first demo as the punk rock band, and we were playing with like guys who are like, I'm in a serious skinhead band. I convinced the other guys to let us cover the Facts of Life theme on our demo, and that was what we sent out to get booked everywhere into labels.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we did the 87 version. And so that's probably more embarrassing, I think, maybe.
Well, that's like, who's that band? Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
Oh yeah, they did the punk rock covers. Yeah, but it was I cried in front of Valerie Harper because of Valerie. That was embarrassing.
You cried in front of her?
Yeah, totally.
Like how?
So they killed her off from the show, if you remember.
Yes, why?
Because she wanted to be an executive producer because it was her show.
Right.
But Miller Boyette were like, no. And she's like, it's my show. And they're like, oh yeah? And they killed her off. And I had Lisa Wilcox on the show. And she was in the episode where they killed her. And they went and reshot all Valerie's stuff with Sandy Duncan. And the way they killed her was ridiculous. So I loved that show. Season finale in May. Wait all summer for the new one. September it starts. Opening credits, no Valerie. I'm like, this is weird. Then show's going for like 2 minutes, no Valerie. And then they have Jason Bateman go, yeah, things just aren't the same since Mom died. And it's like the most crass way to do it. It was very upsetting.
Right, throw away.
Yeah, and I worked at our local CBS affiliate when I was in college. And if they had like someone in to do interviews, I would kind of have to like get their water and whatever. And she came in one day and she was very nice and she was talking to me. I was talking about like Freebie and the Bean and like, all this great stuff that Rhoda and all day. And then I start talking about Valerie and I realized I start like welling up, which totally shocked me.
Yeah.
And she just hugged me, which is nice, but also horrifically embarrassing because it was like, okay, idiot.
Right.
You're okay. So that
well,
was
she's like,
bad.
This has happened to me before and this is how I handle this situation.
This is how I handle this.
Yeah.
Just calm down. It's fine. But I was surprised. I was like, man, I did not realize that was that traumatic.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's wrong they did that to people.
See, that's totally happened to her before.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's funny.
I'm sure. That poor woman. What else do we have there? We had Facts of Life, Golden Girls, again, the Saturday night.
Yeah.
That's the NBC Saturday night was all about. Our House was the Sunday night show, which I never liked but always watched.
Yes, I don't remember it that well. I remember the house at the beginning and the opening credits. So I think I did watch it.
Wilford Brimley was the grandfather. The mom got either divorced or was a widower.
Okay.
And moved back in with her father and her kids.
Who was the mom? I don't remember her.
It was a woman who was on Dallas. She's blonde. I can't remember her name either.
I was never in. So my parents, probably more my mom, watched Dynasty and occasionally Dallas and like Not the Landing, Falcon Crest. I was too young for all of those.
I just thought they were boring because like some of the adult shows I watched like Fantasy Island or Love Boat because they at least would have comedy in them. But the other ones just like, what is this?
Yeah.
But that show was very dramatic.
Our House?
Yeah. And there was an episode where a kid got shot. Wilford Brimley terrified me. There was a weird phenomenon where they would have the stars of the shows host Saturday mornings sometimes. Do you remember that?
Sort of.
Facts of Life did it a few times. And it would literally be them in character. Like, hey, Tootie, Foofer's on. And then, like, introduce the shows.
I don't remember that. I remember Ones to Grow On.
One to Grow On was great as well. But they would actually have them do the wraparounds for the shows.
Okay.
And they did one week with the Our House people. And it freaked me out because it was shot on video. And that was like a film show. And so you're like, what? Something's wrong. Like, it just was bizarre.
I was always very keenly aware of when a show that was normally video would do film or vice versa. I preferred the look of video, though.
Some shows I do, but, like, if you have a show that started on video and switched to film, like Newhart, their first season's on video, and it's a funny season, but you're watching it and you feel like you're listening to demo tapes or something.
Right.
Like, it's just something's wrong, something's off.
Yeah.
So I always love that show. And then what do we have under Regs to Riches?
Oh, that was Frugal Gourmet.
Oh, I loved him.
Yes.
Yes.
Jeff Smith.
Jeff Smith went to jail.
was he a pedophile?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't remember
Yeah.
if I just thought he was creepy or if
No.
it turns out he really was.
He really was.
Yeah. So we always, my dad is very into cooking. So we always watched Frugal Gourmet. And there was always something a little creepy about him.
He had an assistant who may have been his
Craig.
son, but I don't think was his son.
I don't think so because
Yeah.
I think I always wondered what's going on between. I think he was named Craig.
Yeah, it's like, Craig, come out here. And then he'd be like, well, here's what I do. He's like, show them what you did, Craig.
Yeah.
Do it more. Yeah, it was a little weird. My dad loved the Frugal Gourmet.
Oh, that's funny.
And my dad is like a, very born in the 50s kind of like straight-laced guy. So every Christmas, I just like to wind him up because he gets so mad. I buy him a Frugal Gourmet cook because when that happened, he like threw away all his Frugal Gourmet. And I'm like, but the recipes aren't
didn't
diddling
change,
children.
yeah.
And so every Christmas I go to the used bookstore and get a Frugal Gourmet book and wrap it up with other stuff. And he's like, "You're not funny. This isn't funny," which is
think
always
it's
fun
funny.
to do. I that show is on Netflix now.
It is?
Yeah, you can. They have like selected episodes on Netflix.
Wow.
Which
Is
a
it
little
worth
strange.
going back to?
Some of it's kind of interesting to see for nostalgic reasons because
Mm-hmm.
like we would also usually watch it while we're eating dinner, which is a little strange. But some of it's kind of interesting, and it's also interesting to see how cooking shows have changed
Right.
now that we have like entire cooking channels.
Yeah.
Julia Child filmed her show in Boston, and I
Oh.
used to see her driving her little Volvo all the time, and she was
cute.
enormous. So she was like this. She was like 7 feet tall. It's really weird. And then we got who's the
Alf.
dog? Oh, Alf. Yes,
Yeah.
a huge phenomenon and not a good show.
I haven't seen it in a really long time.
It just doesn't. It's so. It seems like a parody of another show,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not.
There were quite a few shows that had that feeling. You know what felt like that to me? The one with Bobcat Goldthwait doing the voice and
yes.
Kevin Connolly and Nikki Cox. What show was that?
Unhappily Ever After.
Yes, that always felt like, what is this a spin-off or what is this?
Because it was like a store brand Married with Children
Yes.
as well, so that probably did it too. But Alf was also, there's a parallel between the 50s and the 80s with that I have a magical thing in my house I have to keep secret. And
Like Bewitched.
Yeah, you had Bewitched, My Favorite Martian.
Oh, right, a
And even
ton.
stuff like My Mother the Car, I Dream a
Right.
Genie, My Living Doll with Julie Newmar. She was a robot.
I'm afraid of that. I've never heard of that
Yeah.
show, but I'm frightened
Yeah,
by
that
it.
was terrifying. And then you didn't have shows like that until the 80s, and then all of a sudden we have a ton of shows like that again.
Right.
And I don't know if there's probably someone smarter than me who could write like a cultural studies paper about like repression or something.
Right, what that means.
But I always joke that if you replaced the magical thing with just a gay son, that's really what that show is
Right,
about.
that's true. That's true.
Like, we can't have the neighbors know.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's no. Yeah, because it's just there's too many of them for it not to be some sort of weird cultural
Right.
thing.
It must mean something.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's the Boss? Manny's show I never liked and watched every week.
Yeah, I was pretty into it, although I had this weird jealousy of Alyssa Milano, I think.
Just
'Cause I
as
was-
the character or as her?
I think her, because I
Yeah.
was into teen magazines. And, this is the point at which I wanted to be a child star.
Right.
And she was living the life. She was friends with the Coreys.
Yep, she's in your way.
Yeah. She was in my way, and everyone was so all about her,
Yeah, she was the sweetheart of those teen actor group. And since doing this show, I've had some people from that sort of circle, and they all pretty much just say that is in fact the case.
Yeah.
When Alyssa would show up, everyone would be like, ooh, and then they'd just be like, all right, Alyssa Milano.
I'm sure she's perfectly nice. In fact, I used to do some commentary for the A&E biographies. I think it was the Bio channel, and I did one on Alyssa Milano, so I spoke a lot about her. I
Right.
did not reveal that I'd had mixed feelings about her
Right.
years
You
before.
were
You know,
like,
I moved past it.
I could take her or leave her. You ever seen her workout video?
No,
It's very funny.
she had a crazy career comeback though, because she was in Poison Ivy 2.
Yep, and then
like
Charmed right after, right?
was it because around the Poison Ivy 2 time, my sense was that she was kind of washed up, and then all of a
Yes.
sudden she came back and
Yes.
she's had this great career.
Because she made a movie right before that called Amy and the Alien or something like
Okay.
that. No, that's Nicole Eggert. She was in a movie called, Alyssa Milano was in a movie called To Sleep with a Vampire, and which is actually kind of a cool idea for a movie, but yeah, that was probably her career low. And then she came back in
Right.
the
Charmed,
Charmed thing,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, she also was one of those kid actors that didn't seem to have any controversy.
Right.
One of the few, for that size. I mean, there was a lot that kind of got through it without anything. but
Yeah.
for such a huge one.
You're right.
But
there
then
wasn't really any.
she might have got overshadowed by the coming out of her younger brother on the
Danny
show.
Pintaro?
Danny Pintaro, yeah,
Right.
which no one was surprised by that. And he even says too, he's like, this is just a formality. I think everyone pretty much knows. Which is funny when you rewatch it, because there's a couple episodes when he's a teenager, and he's clearly not straight, and it's fine. But you have Tony Danza trying to like give him dating tips, and it takes on this whole weird,
Right.
like you expect any minute him to be like, look, don't bother with it, like, because he's really like, all right, here's what you do, and it's
Yeah.
like, it's not, that's
Not
not
working.
happening. Max Headroom's on this week. It's the premiere too.
Yes, I wrote that down. I was never into Max Headroom. I feel like
Loved it.
Really? I don't know. It was lost on me.
It was Chris Young also on that show, actually.
Oh, really?
It was so subversive, which was so weird, because it was about how television's evil and advertising is wrong and is going to ruin society, but is on NBC or ABC with the same. It was really bizarre.
I think it was. I don't know if it was just too sophisticated for me, or if I just aesthetically didn't like it.
It looked dark and grim and
Yeah,
gross.
I tend to. I also, growing up, I never liked Cheers, and I also didn't really like MASH. Although, as an adult, I've gone back and I love
Right,
MASH now. And I think I would appreciate Cheers, but Cheers always really depressed me.
It's a sad show. It
Yeah.
really is.
But I think just the look of it depressed me. Like, there was something so lonely about it.
For me, it looked like home. But so were you gravitating towards more like escapist shows, or like bright kind of like California type shows?
Well, Facts of Life.
Yeah.
I mean, it was usually daytime. It
Yeah.
was like there was lively. There's a lot of people there. It
Yeah.
wasn't. It was light. I liked shows with light in the room, I guess.
Right. Even when they do heavy episodes, it looked
Yes,
like a sitcom.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think
Aside from that Blair one, which the whole last half of the episode's in darkness.
That's true.
Maybe that's why
true.
you don't like it.
Maybe.
That might be why it turned you
Yeah.
off. Yeah, that is a good point. That show was set in upstate New York, but felt very California. Like it just,
Right.
it had that look.
And that one was the second half of the Blair one was in darkness because she didn't want anyone to see her face because
Right.
she had been disfigured in the car accident.
Which then they
Whoa.
completely forgot about in every episode after that.
Yes.
And that's also the season where her mother has the baby, and they have that whole abortion talk episode.
I don't remember the abortion talk
Yeah,
episode.
her mom, who's like 50 something,
Right. Monica.
Yeah, it's episode aired on Halloween, and she's like, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and Blair's like, "This is great. We're gonna have a
Right.
new baby," and she's like, "I'm not having it," and then she's like, "You have to have it," and they have
She
this
ends up
whole-
having it, though,
she
right?
Ends up having
Yeah,
it,
on Christmas.
Yep, and then they have which is a weird episode because it's narrated by the future baby.
Right. They name her Bailey.
Yeah, which I never. And then there's the one where they lose Bailey, and they get a Hispanic kid instead.
Oh, I'm funny. I vaguely remember that one.
It's a Beverly Ann episode, and they go to a Halloween.
Yes,
thing.
now I remember.
Yeah, and I remember that episode because this is such a dumb joke.
The little kid is dressed the same as Bailey.
Yes, and had a mask on. It's such a dumb joke because she goes, "What's your name?" And the kid goes, "Kay." She goes, "What is your name?" She goes, "Como," and so they call her Kay Como the whole episode.
Jeez.
Which is probably not doable now, but was very funny to me
Right.
at the time. Absolutely. What else do we have on there? Who's the boss? Growing Pains.
Super into Growing
Yeah,
Pains.
and on the
I think you
cover-
had to be.
You had to be.
Yeah, and I remember in, I want to say 6th grade, 7th grade, at the very beginning of the year, we had to fill out those like get to know each other
Oh,
questionnaires.
My favorite
yes,
things.
my
Yeah.
favorite show.
I love pizza and blue.
And right. And I remember so everyone knew I liked Facts of Life. I
Right.
mean, it goes that far back.
You're the Facts of Life girl.
Yes. And I remember my friends were like, "You're going to write Facts of Life?" I'm like, "No." And I wrote Growing Pains. So I was like, this year, new Allison.
Yeah.
Growing Pains is my favorite.
All about
but
it.
wasn't my favorite.
You just
Facts
said
of Life
that, but
was.
didn't do that in action.
I was trying on a new persona.
Yeah,
But
it
I
didn't
did
stick.
I did see a lot of Growing Pains.
It was a good show. This was 1987. This was season 3, which is my favorite season of the show. It was really funny. It was like in its stride. This is when Just the 10 of Us spun off,
Mm-hmm.
which might be my favorite sitcom of the 80s. But what happened was all the good writers went to Just 10 of Us,
Okay.
never came back to Growing Pains, and then it got kind of bad. And that also was when Kirk Cameron got like super like holy roller and was
Mm-hmm.
having people fired. And
Who was he having fired? See, I don't know the backstory.
oh yeah, so he had Julie McCullough fired. So Julie McCullough.
Who did she play?
She played the
The nanny?
Julie.
Oh, yeah.
And she had done Playboy, but like 4 years before that. And then he was like, "She's a pornographer,"
Oh,
and
my
had her
God.
fired from the show. He had a bunch of writers fired. Like he was just, by all accounts, an absolute monster.
And was he just, you couldn't go against him because he was so powerful? He was the show?
That was what the network felt like. He was the pinup. He is the show. We don't have a show without him. And although I do
nightmare.
love the cocaine episode of that show. And we wouldn't have it if he didn't make them do it, which is fantastic. But
They were doing it in a bathroom, right?
Yes,
Who
yes.
was doing it?
it was this kid. This kid was older than them who had graduated. They went to a party, and they were all in there. And they were like, "Oh, a little nose candy." Actually, there's a girl in it who Eddie likes. Who was? Do you remember that show Felicity?
Yes.
When they had a big controversy because this woman was the head writer
Who
She said
claimed to be young? Yeah.
that was that actress.
Oh, wow.
She was in Growing Pains before that. She was in a couple episodes.
If they had been Growing Pains fans, they would have
They
been
would
able
have
to
known.
age her
Yeah.
better.
Maybe
yeah.
that's why she was justified. She's like, you guys should have known about this.
Right.
I'm in
It was
Growing
public.
Pains.
It's on
Yeah.
IMDb.
But that one has one of my favorite jokes too, because they're all going to the bathroom to do cocaine, and Mike just leaves, and Eddie and Boner are like, "Hey, we might stick around." I don't know. And so he walks in, and Dr. Steve goes, "Mike, Eddie and Boner just called and said they didn't go to the bathroom and they don't want to." And then he's like, "Oh, good." And he's like, "I don't want to know." I'm like, "That's a funny joke. Like,
Yeah.
they had some funny stuff on that show." But this particular episode is Jason hopes to inspire his. Oh, we get a Coleman catalog in the middle here. Where are we? That's a lot of fishing rods. His academically underachieving son when he takes Mike along on a business trip to Boston University for a taste of the campus life. This one is a pretty fun episode because I always liked when I went to Boston.
I don't remember that episode, but I do remember on Family Ties when Alex and Mallory went to look at colleges.
Yes,
And she discovered that her boyfriend was, I think, seeing someone else.
yes,
It was a sad
yeah.
episode.
We were all much happier when she got with Nick.
Yeah.
She had some stability. He seemed
Right.
like a good guy.
He was funny.
Yeah, everyone liked Nick. There's also an ad in here for an after-school special starring Beau Bridges.
Can a guy say
called
no?
Can a Guy Say No?
I don't know if I saw that one or not.
I don't think I've seen this one either. This is Stephen Anton plays the teenager who I don't know. It says, "Can a guy say no after his girlfriend dumps him? A libidinous teenager sets his sight on a next-door neighbor played by Heather Langenkamp. Speaking of just the 10 of us, who had a bad reputation."
Ooh. I'm wondering if Stephen Anton is related to Robin Anton of the Pussycat Dolls. I feel like there's a bunch of Antons.
And it's just a slightly odd enough name that they might be related.
I think
It's
they
possible.
might be.
It's possible.
Something's ringing a bell.
Well, it makes sense with the libidinousness of his teenage
Right, the
character.
libidinosity.
The libidinosity. There was always that episode of like the girl with the reputation in the
Yes.
80s as well. I can think of at least 3 listed off the top of my head.
There's a Facts of Life one
There's a
like that.
Facts of
Helen,
Life.
Home Run Helen.
Yes, there's a Mr. Belvedere that has a very uncomfortable scene in it where Kevin is like dating the girl and she thinks she likes him and
Right.
he's treating her like a lady. And then he gets like date 7, he's all like frustrated. She's like, "What is it, Kevin?" He's like, "I thought this was like a sure thing."
Oh, geez.
And she's all like,
Oh, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin was very misguided. And then there's an episode of James at 15 with Terry Nunn from Berlin.
Oh, wow.
Plays that pre-Berlin plays that girl, and that's an interesting one as well. And clearly did not effectively teach a generation to respect
Mm-hmm.
people better.
So back in my wanting to be an actress days, I auditioned for Quantum Leap.
Did you?
And did I have a callback or did I know that I already was sort of far along? Anyway, I don't know what happened, but somehow the communication broke down between them and my manager and me. So I thought I was supposed to play like a very prim and proper teenager. So I
Right.
went in like very
Like school uniform-y.
almost, yes.
Yeah.
I wore like a sweater and a turtleneck and a skirt, and I had my hair in a ponytail and just very,
Straight arrow.
yes.
Yeah.
Turned out I was auditioning for the role of a teenager who gets pregnant, who was like real loose.
Right.
So I completely went the wrong direction
Like,
for it.
interesting take. This
Yes,
is an
I
interesting
know.
take on this.
Like,
Yeah.
real against type.
Did you ever get cast in anything aside from background
No,
stuff?
I did not. No.
Did you ever have to read for somebody that was like a show that you watched and were like, please let me get on this? Or
No, I did a lot of reading for commercials and
Okay.
things like that. A big thing at the time was it would have been better for me if I were emancipated because
you could
I
work longer
always
hours.
looked a little bit older than I was.
Okay.
And at 15, it would have been great if I looked 12 or something,
Right,
you know.
right.
But instead, I could play. At 15, I looked like 22 or something.
Right.
So if I wanted to, you know, I think it was suggested that you get emancipated. My parents were not into that. And then by the time I turned 18, when I could have worked. I went on like one more audition at 18, and I was looking at colleges, and I was kind of over it.
Yeah, you're
already.
like, I'm gonna have a real life at this.
I
point.
had already started writing,
Right.
And so I was like, that's what I'm gonna do, and yeah, so I wasn't into it anymore.
Yeah. Is there a role out of any of the shows you watched growing up that you wished you could have had? Like you're like, I could have done that better than Tina or the others.
No, I don't think I didn't. No, I don't think so. But I would have killed to have been able to spend any time with the Facts of Life crew.
Yeah.
Oh, I also had a huge crush on Stephen Dorff.
Okay.
So, do you remember that very short-lived show, What a Dummy?
Yes.
Maybe like a guest star.
Magical
on that.
creature. The most terrifying of those, maybe?
Right, a ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah, and
it's actually alive.
Who
That's
was an
the part.
asshole.
Right.
Like, he was a real asshole, that
Yeah.
dummy. That was a syndicated show in the same package as the Harry and the Hendersons show.
Right.
Yeah, What a Dummy was very short-lived.
Small Wonder was also that same thing.
That was super creepy.
Yeah.
That really, like, they have a whole house. They make her sleep in the closet
Right.
in their son's room.
That's weird.
That's a little weird.
It's weird.
Did you ever see The Gate with Stephen Dorff?
Yes, loved that
That's
movie.
probably his finest work, I think.
I just recently, after watching Stranger Things, was thinking about Monster Squad and The Gate.
Yeah, I think many people were rightfully so.
Right.
Yeah, both fantastic movies. Although I get so sad in The Gate when the dog dies, and then the kid that upset me to this day, I think.
How does the dog die?
They
See, I'm forgetting the movie.
Oh, you know what it is? So the nerdy heavy metal kid,
Mm-hmm.
his mom is dead, which is like a subplot. And he's sleeping over there, and in the middle of the night, he kind of wakes up and he sees this vision of his mom,
Mm-hmm.
and he starts dancing with her. And then Stephen Dorff's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he looks, and it's not his mom, it's the dog, and he like drops it, and then it's just like dead.
How did I not remember? This is
Yeah.
traumatic.
It's
How did I
very
not
traumatic.
remember this?
Yeah.
So the dog dies because he drops the dog.
Yeah.
What? And they stay friends with him after
Yeah,
he killed
and they
their
bury
dog?
it in that hole in the back, which kind of kicks off the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was also the first time I saw that light as a feather, stiff as a board thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, is this a thing? What the hell is this?
It was a big slumber party thing.
Really? Is that a girl thing? Like
People always wanted to do it at summer parties that I went to. So yes,
they would do it and it would be effective? I don't understand.
it would. I think because you had a bunch of people lifting up one person,
Okay.
and plus everyone doesn't weigh that much
Right.
then, except I was a tubby kid. But
Okay. So it was
So I did.
Right. It was a communist plot then to teach people how to work together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
1955. Some Russian guy's dressed as a teenage girl at a sleepover be like, I have game.
okay,
yeah.
I'm literally feeling uncomfortable over this dog plot that I have
Yes.
no memory
Sorry.
of.
Sorry
No, it's
to bring that
okay.
up.
It's
Yeah.
okay. I don't know what it is lately.
And the dog has a really sweet name.
What kind of dog is it?
She's like a bearded collie, and her
Of
name's
course,
like Nana or something like that.
Is she like the same dog that's in Stranger Things? Because
It's
that
very
kind
similar.
of dog was in everything.
That was a very 80s style dog.
Yes.
Yeah. Our dog Petey looks like an 80s movie dog. And I always just want to put like sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt on him, just because it looks like it would be right. You know,
Right.
It's that kind of dog.
Right.
Yeah, it's that kind of dog. And also that movie had the weird Canadian thing that as a kid you didn't know was Canadian, but sort of made you slightly ill at ease, like
Mm-hmm. Right.
on Nickelodeon shows. You're like, something's weird.
Right.
about
What's
this.
going on? It's
Yeah.
like in college when you go to a party at a different college.
Yeah.
Like I'm wandering into.
Yeah.
It's like the
similar.
upside down.
Yeah, but something slightly off. I don't
Yes.
know what. You go to a different town and the fire hydrants are yellow instead of red
Right.
or whatever it is. It's like just one thing. Yeah, that had that vaguely Canadian thing too. And the Gate 2, not worth seeing.
Is it possible to see The Gate still?
Yeah.
Because I had it on VHS.
It's on Blu-ray and DVD. Yeah, and it's probably streaming somewhere as well. It's very good. It holds up.
Really? Okay.
But just know in advance that the dog does not make it.
Yeah.
And you'll probably be okay. I could never take when an animal was killed in a show.
Yeah.
That killed me every
I
time.
really, just lately especially, for some reason, I'm very haunted by any of that. And I don't know if it's like a pregnancy hormone. Not that like I was cool with it before.
Right. I
but
loved it before.
Yeah, it was my favorite thing. But
Yeah.
especially lately, I'm like very not okay with any of that.
The Hogan family did that too.
Really?
Oh God.
What happened to the animal in the Hogan family?
I maybe wanted more money, but they after Valerie died, they like systematically destroyed everything. Then the next episode, they killed the dog, who was also a bearded collie. Then the next,
Did it die of natural causes or was it an accident?
I think it died of natural causes. Then the next episode, they had the house burned down, and there's a scene where Jason Bateman's in the attic with a burnt photo, and he goes, this was the only photo we had left of Mom. So I'm like, just let her leave the show.
Yeah. Did they hate her?
They hated her.
Okay.
And then they had another friend on the show, speaking of the very special episodes that are like respectful, who they kind of kicked off the show but had him under contract, brought him back for one episode to give him AIDS and kill him over the course of one episode.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What vindictive writers.
Oh yeah, like that is pure evil. Like this Bateman and his buddy are in a hospital doing like a college video project, and they run into this kid. They haven't seen him in forever because he was in Europe. So they're talking to him, and then he walks away, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we'll meet up with you." And they're like, "Hey, where did he go?" And some guy who works at the hospital goes, "Oh, he went over there with all the other AIDS patients." That's exactly what he says.
Jeez.
And then the kid, he got it from quote some chick from Europe, and he's dead by the end of the episode. Yeah, it's that is vindictive writing right there. Yeah, evil people.
Wow.
I get the negotiations with Valerie and the other kid, but the dog, that was unnecessary.
Right.
Yeah. I hope they got letters about that.
I bet they did.
I'm sure they did.
Someone probably called them.
Did you have a favorite TV dog?
What was the dog on Sesame Street? Barksley?
Oh, Barkley.
Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley was good.
I think I liked that dog.
Yeah, I like Barkley. I like Brandon on Punky Brewster. Mm-hmm. Didn't go to your school.
No.
He was a couple years
I wish, but
yeah,
no.
We all wish. Max Headroom we had on there. Highway to Heaven. Did you watch that?
A little bit. That girl, Moya Kordick.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to have to look her up and see if she's doing anything these days.
The name doesn't strike me.
I don't think she is. She had been on that show.
Okay.
So I think I tuned in for that episode.
That show bummed me out like no
Yeah,
other
I wasn't
show.
really into it. It was did every episode have a message?
Oh God, yeah. No pun intended.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I always call that show a deathbed confession show because it was always about some terrible person and then they're like, I was so wrong. And
right.
then it's like end of episode.
But that's reminding me that I did, for a little while, I watched Father Dowling Mysteries.
See, that was better. That didn't get preachy.
Right.
There's always like a preachy Jesus-y show on
Yeah.
at all times. And Highway to Heaven was one for a long time. And then we had Early Edition, if you remember that.
I don't remember that
Quantum
one.
Leap became a religious show after a while when they made it like really explicit that it was God that was sending him on these missions.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
There's a good Halloween episode where he basically is in the body of Stephen King. And there's a guy fighting him who they explicitly have as Satan. And then it's like clear that for the rest of the show it's like God has me on missions. I'm like, no, if people want it to be that, let them think it's that.
Right. Don't
And
be
it
so
just,
explicit.
Yeah, it didn't get good. Head of the Class.
I was into Head of the Class.
That's a show that also shaped how I looked at New York.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
this
see,
is
and
how
again,
it
I
is.
didn't even realize it was New York.
They reused the classroom from, or not the classroom, the hallway from that on Boy Meets World.
Oh, really?
And that's when I knew I had a problem with television.
Boy Meets World is a show that so many people I know, it was like a very formative show for them. I think
Yeah.
I was a little bit after.
Same. I was too old for it.
Yeah.
It was. I've rewatched it and I liked the first season ish, and then it turns into this like bad Friends ripoff, and it's not. It doesn't have that coming of age teenager thing that I liked in
Right.
it. But I remember that I remember watching the premiere, and the hallway was the one from Head of the Class because Head of the Class had been canceled that year, and I'm like, they're reusing the Head of the Class set. And then I had a moment where I was like, oh God, I don't want to know that. That's bad that bothers me.
My husband notes stuff like that, and Gilmore Girls, I think it's the Warner Brothers lot.
Yeah.
Pretty Little Liars, when
Yeah.
they're walking around. He's like, well, he doesn't say Stars Hollow, but he's just like,
Yeah.
Gilmore Girls.
It is off-putting when you get
Yeah.
that because it takes you out of it all of a sudden.
Right.
Not that you get lost in Boy Meets World. Some people
Right.
might. Cosby Show.
I was into Cosby Show.
It's a really good show.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing
It's a
about him
shame.
being an absolute monster.
Right.
Is that it's a good show, was made by a lot of people who are not Bill Cosby, and they kind of all get tainted by this because it was such a sweet, funny show.
Right, and it was smart too. And I think I really liked it. I also watched A Different World.
I love Different World.
Yeah.
Although again got silly later.
Right.
Like once Sinbad came in, and I love Cree Summer, but like they had her character be like the character who was too dumb. Where I was like, now this person seems like they have a problem, and not just like they're a fun dumb character.
Right,
Like, I feel
right.
sad for them at this point. Family Ties.
Of course, loved Family Ties.
Did you in your school have a Family Ties versus Growing Pains kind of like war going on, or like kids who were one or the other? We had like a very short-lived version of that.
I don't recall that, although I know that when, that year that I was going to try on my new personality, I was
Yeah.
like, should I write down Family Ties or Growing Pains?
Right.
Which one?
You
Which is the new
agonized over
me?
which
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Yeah, Growing Pains was the right move, I think, because
Okay.
if you had gone down that path, Growing Pains went on much longer.
Right.
Both of those finales destroyed me.
Yeah.
I
I
had-
don't remember the Growing Pains finale, but I remember the Family Ties finale.
Oh God, the Finley Ties finale, because they had that curtain call.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to stay home sick from school the next day because I was so upset about it.
Oh.
I was so upset about it. And the Growing Pains when I did go to school the next day, but I was very upset because the last shot, Maggie gets transferred to DC and they're moving out of the house, and they're all kind of like sitting on. There's no furniture. They're sitting on the floor eating pizza, just kind of like, oh, that was great. Wasn't it? Like, yeah, they leave. You think it's over. The lights are off. Maggie comes running back in and has left Mike's graduation picture above the mantle. This isn't enough. Picks it up, and written on the brick is Mike Seaver was here. And she
I do remember
touches
this.
it. Yeah, that killed me.
Yeah.
Killed me.
I remember that.
It was just it was a cruel finale. At least they didn't kill them all.
Right.
And then Roomies.
Well, so I jotted that down
Yeah.
because what was that?
Roomies was a very not well, actually, I won't say that. It wasn't a not good show. It was Corey Haim and Burt Young, and it was Corey Haim was a child genius. His character was, who goes to college, and they have a guy who's a Vietnam vet or World War II vet, and he's like in his 60s, gruff guy who goes back to college. So the college makes them roommates because they're like the young and old guy.
Right.
And it only lasted 13 episodes, and they did a weird thing with it where they aired the episodes in primetime for half the episodes, then canceled it for a year, and then decided to reintroduce it as a Saturday morning show.
That's weird.
So they would air it with like Saved by the Bell and stuff. But there's one episode of that that's actually really, really good, where when they're going to college, there's like a movie night where like there's a club that gets together and watches old cheesy movies, and they make fun of them and laugh at them. And one of the ones they watch is an old military training film. And when they start airing it, Burt Young is in it.
Oh, wow.
And so at first he's like, oh, shut this off. And you're like, it's funny, he's in the thing. And then at the end he makes this speech about why he doesn't want them making fun of it. He's like, all those kids are dead. They all died in Vietnam, and I was their sergeant, and I had to look at... It's like this 5-minute speech about how they're laughing at these kids that are dead, and then it just ends. And it's like, the tone of it is Saved by the Bell, and then the ending is that.
Wow,
and it's
devastating.
Amazing. Like, I'm like, they had to know what they were doing, like sneaking this in there.
Yeah.
And Corey Haim is, his mouth open the whole time. It's not, yeah. Oh boy, that kid! But he was great and stuff when he was younger. Silver Bullet and Lucas.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the end, I think. Roomies. Yeah.
So he was a college age, I guess, at that point.
No, he was supposed to be 14.
Oh, right.
So
Sorry,
he
you
was
said
like
that.
a super
Okay.
genius, and this guy
Yeah.
was just old. So they put them.
I
in the same
know.
room.
It's ringing up. I know I must have seen it.
Yeah, it was-
I'm probably in the Saturday morning version.
This is in April, and they're dumping a bunch of shows, mid-season replacement shows, because there's also a show called Roxy, which was a spin-off of Kate and Allie.
I saw that in the TV guide. I don't
Yeah.
remember Roxy though.
Andrea Martin, who I love, they had a backdoor pilot in Kate and Allie where Kate went to do a cable access show, and Roxy, who was played by Andrea Martin, ran the station, and everybody had quit, so she did all the shows. So it was kind of like SCTV, like she'd do all these different
Right.
characters. And so the show was supposed to be like that. And I had Teresa Ganzelon, who was on that show, as her best friend. By the time it got to air, they cut all the stuff about the cable access show.
Oh.
So it just became a show about like a woman, like a middle-aged woman living in New York, and they were like, oh, this sucks. And canceled it, but it was like,
That's
wait,
too bad.
that's not the show that you...
Right.
yeah, so that didn't do well. I think it was like
Right.
3 episodes.
Teresa Genzow, what does she do now?
She still acts. She does a lot of voiceover stuff. She told me an amazing story about being a contestant on the dating game, because I'm fascinated by people who were dating game chaperones. And she said that the guy she went on a date with, who was a stand-up comic, was awful, and she just ended up hanging out with the chaperone and like going shopping all the time on the trip.
What was the chaperone there for?
I guess
Like
if
to protect her?
Yeah, like I guess if it felt uncomfortable, she was like a older gay guy who was like, if you don't want to talk to this guy or he's being a creep, like you just let me know.
Right.
So I think it was. I feel like it was probably cynically to like absolve the show of anything if something happened.
Right.
But she was very happy that he was there because she
Yeah.
was like, this guy just sucked. It was like, but a lot of actors, she told me, would do those game shows because you would get paid a SAG rate.
Oh.
Which I had no
That's
idea.
interesting,
If you're in
yeah.
SAG and you did a game show, you got paid a SAG day rate.
Wasn't... maybe making this up. I feel like John Hamm was on.
Yeah. A lot of people are on the dating
Right.
game. Schwarzenegger was on it. Andy Kaufman was
Oh,
on
wow.
it. Yeah, like a ton of people. Mark
Miles
Almond.
Elledge, my shop teacher.
He was on the dating game?
Yes.
Have you seen him on it?
I feel like I did. And I can't imagine, he was this humorless woodshop teacher.
Yeah, he's a shop teacher.
I can't imagine that he played it for us.
That would be really weird if that was the only time he came to life.
Yeah.
Guys, I got a special.
I know.
I built a TV stand. And it's funny I did because here you go.
He had won a lifetime supply of something.
Like Rice-A-Roni.
I want to say it was like either soap or oatmeal.
Okay. Oatmeal soap.
If only they had combined
Yes.
it. He could exfoliate.
Yes.
Yeah, how is it that we saw that? Because I have seen a part of the episode.
Kids had a real knack for digging up stuff
Right.
against teachers pre-internet, which
Yes.
is very impressive.
It is.
Yeah. I had no teachers that were on TV, but that is amazing. I had a teacher who was in the Boston punk rock band, the FUs.
Oh, that's
in the
cool.
early 80s, and I recognized him and he freaked out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's leading a double life.
Yeah, that's not as good as the dating game, though. Definitely not as good as the dating game. And then anything else that we missed?
I wrote
there?
Amazing Stories.
Oh, I loved Amazing Stories.
Yeah. I didn't always watch it, but there's one that it stands out. Andrew McCarthy was in it, and he.
The old man?
Yes.
Yes, that is freaky.
Yes, it was.
So the plot of this one, and I'm going to ruin it for everyone because they shouldn't watch it.
I don't even think they could find it.
It is on DVD. It's from the
really?
first season. Yeah, it's his grandmother is sad because her husband's dead, and
He's dying.
Is dying, but she keeps seeing him being like healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and then she dies by the end, and the grandfather comes in, and then he takes his makeup off, and it's her grandson who was just pretending to be him
Yes,
to make her feel better.
did he actually die, the grandfather, in it, or did
It's very ambiguous.
my sense was Andrew McCarthy was putting on all this prosthetic makeup, which he had around,
Yeah, 7 hours worth of makeup.
to look like his grandfather for the grandmother's sake, because like she would die if the grandfather died. So to keep her go, I might be
So
bringing
you think
in.
the grandfather faked his own death in conjunction with him?
No,
Oh, okay,
no.
okay.
No, what I'm saying is they kept it from her that he died.
Oh.
And so what I'm asking is, in Amazing Stories, did we ever see her know that the grandfather had died? Or was that hidden from her?
I think she knew.
Okay.
I think so.
I think I'm also bringing in a little bit of an O. Henry story. Like I'm misremembering
Because that
it.
sounds more like a plot to get her money.
Yeah.
But it's super creepy because he's like dancing with her.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's
Right.
very weird. I want to say the grandmother was like Jessica Tandy or something like that too.
She probably is.
Yeah. That show was a huge budget show, but it's like a lighthearted, it's like a loving version, that episode, I remember. They always did either comedy ones or ones that were like very sappy.
Was it Stephen King? Who was it?
No, it was Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the first episode was the one with Casey Smetzko in World War II, and he's a cartoonist, and the plane loses its landing gear, so he draws cartoon landing gear, and it comes real and saves everybody.
It was always that show freaked me out.
Yeah.
Same with some Fantasy Islands freaked me out.
Yeah, that would get dark. That would
Yeah.
get dark. Amazing Stories never really got dark. There's a scary episode with Christopher Lloyd as a teacher who these kids kill accidentally. They behead him.
Okay.
And then they come back to school and he's back and he's got like big stitches around his throat. And that was the scary one. Yeah.
A lot of coming back from death.
Yeah. Which, as we know.
I guess that's amazing.
That is amazing, and also a story. That tells us a story. Yes,
It fills both the buckets.
Yep, amazing. They told you what it is. It's an amazing story. It's not just an okay story.
Too on the nose.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Fair enough. Is there anything you watch now that you like absolutely can't miss?
I really enjoyed Stranger Things.
Yeah, that I love.
I hesitated to watch it because I get scared very easily, but I watched it and I loved it. I just finished The Night Of. Also,
know that one.
oh, it's HBO. It's
Okay.
really good. I
Okay.
recommend it.
Okay.
Not a joyful
Yeah.
viewing
It's an HBO
experience.
show.
Right, but it was good.
Yeah.
I was sad when it was over.
Do you have the Facts Life box set? Do you like revisit the episodes?
I have some of the earlier seasons. I don't have the whole box set.
It's worth getting.
I should. You have it?
Yeah, I bet you could get Shout Factory to send you one.
I bet I could.
Yeah.
How though?
Just be like, I have this podcast.
I
I'm
used to
awesome.
work for magazines, and I got everything. I got tickets for
Yeah.
free. I got everything for free.
Yeah.
I never really trade on anything anymore, but I feel like I should.
You should for that.
should get- yeah.
Be like, I had Mindy Cohen on.
That's
we
true.
promoted the show. I want to give it away as a prize.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, something like that.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
they'd send you that box set.
Yeah.
Because the later seasons, I just think are better.
I actually disagree with that statement.
Okay, fair
but what I was going to say is when it was announced that it was coming out, this just shows this is almost self-aggrandizing. I was like, oh boy, for the holidays this year, I'm going to be getting that from a whole bunch of people. Like,
Yeah.
here, what am I going to do with my 4 extra copies? 0 people bought it for me.
because
Yeah.
they probably figured you already had it.
Probably. Because there was one year that I got autographed pictures of Facts of Life from 2 different people.
Oh, nice. The whole cast?
Yeah.
And so you're definitely Mrs. Garrett. You're not a Beverly Ann.
I really like Cloris Leachman.
Yeah.
But there's something sad about the later episodes because I know the show's ending soon.
Yeah.
So I really liked Eastland.
Yep.
I liked Edna's Edibles.
Yeah. Over our head. I've spent most of my adult life trying to morph my home into Over Our Heads. And this summer, I found one of those sculptures, those kinetic sculpture things.
Oh, yeah?
Like, what is this? I found one and bought it, and it was like the happiest I've been in years. I couldn't believe it.
Those stores were very popular. Stores that sold I don't know what.
Not in
Just crap.
Boston.
Oh,
It
okay.
seems so exotic. We
Yeah.
had one store that was basically like that, and it was called Fun Usual. And they'd sell like linoleum floor tiles that look like grass and that kind of
Right.
stuff. And I would beg my parents to take me there because I'm like, they have masks of cats that are blue or like whatever. And they were just like, oh my God. They were not
Well, this
happy
is
about
all
it.
crap.
Yeah, it was totally useless
fun
garbage.
crap.
Giant Gumbies,
Yeah.
stuff that kids need.
Phones in the shape of lips, that kind
Yes,
of stuff. Or
yeah.
like a big chair in the shape of a high heel.
Yeah, already I'm into this.
Mm.
That's the house I was. Although also there was the Pee-wee's Playhouse. That was
Right,
kind of
that's
also
true.
The big influence there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I revisit them, when I got the box set, I try to rewatch all of them, and I still liked the later episodes better. Although I do love. Do you remember when they were trying to introduce all kinds of characters in the Edna's Edibles era, and that Pam Adlon was
Yes.
one of them? But do you remember Mr. Lanzaroni?
Yes, from the Halloween episode.
Yeah, he's in a bunch of episodes.
Yeah, who
though.
was that?
I don't know
But-
who the actor
Okay.
was.
I really liked him.
I did too, but I'm like, that's a weird gamble to introduce
Right.
a
That's
regular character who's
old,
92.
an old white man.
And they give him a catchphrase. I think it's the only catchphrase of a character
What
in
was
Facts of
it?
Life. Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And you always have him say it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is weird to introduce a catchphrase
Right.
character who's 90 something years old
Right.
in season 5 of the show.
Maybe they didn't want to commit.
Yeah.
Like,
or maybe,
we don't know how long he's going to be
Yeah.
here. so.
Assad Kalata was like, you need a catchphrase character. And they're like, oh, do we?
Right.
We'll give you a catchphrase character. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
It's
for
great
having
you.
me.
You're welcome.
Oh, baby, I see you in my TV set, yeah, baby, I see you in my TV set. I cut your head off and put it in my TV set. I use your
There you go. That is Alison Rosen. Very, very fun. As I said, really love talking to her. And we discovered after we recorded that the man who played the grandfather in that super creepy Amazing Story is the same actor who plays Mr. Lanzaroni in the Facts of Life. Things come full circle. You could say that it's amazing. As always, we have new episodes each and every Wednesday of the show. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can email me at tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com or at ken@icanread.com. icanread.com being my stand-up comedy page. As I am a stand-up comedian as well, you can find my comedy there. You can buy albums. You can do whatever you like. See if I'm doing live shows near you. You can come out, say hello or not. You don't have to do any of those things either. But I love hearing from you guys. Feel free to tweet to us at TV Guidance or go on our Facebook page. Just search TV Guidance Counselor on Facebook. And we'll see you again next time for a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.
television.